What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode on the Landscaping Podcast, powered by Landscaping Unlimited. I am your host, Zachary Small, and we are back after a 2-week hiatus. That is correct. If you've been paying attention, you've noticed in the past 2 weeks, there have been 4 episodes that were due. We haven't dropped them as both Shay and I have been on little adventures of our own. I ended up on a vacation. I watched my son go to a baseball tournament in Tennessee, which was awesome. So NACA Sports, the National Association of Christian Athletes, through the Teach organization, which is an athletic organization for Christian homeschooled athletes. I got to go there and watch my son go out and compete. That was awesome. And Shay was holding down the fort here. He was working on Beast games, installing turfs, and working with what I'm going to call the Hollywood deadline, which is they have a lot of moving parts. It's different than when we install turf or projects at homes, which are meant to last a long time. These types of jobs, we install it and then it gets moved the next day. We've got to move heavy equipment, so we've got to pull it back off, then put it back on. And so it's more like a lava lamp than a set schedule. And so Shay was balancing that along with multiple other jobs we've got going to include the building of 2 buildings. And so a while back, we spoke about how Shay had gotten his general contractor's license. And that pretty much means we can do everything. And I put this, it's kind of a joke on Facebook the other day where I said, our motto used to be, if it's outside, we can do it. And now our motto is yes. Because if it's outside, we can do it. If it's inside, we can do it. We're licensed landscape contractors, but this general contractor's license, which is a builder's contract license, Shay can pretty much do everything. It supersedes it all. And so we can clear the land. We can pour the foundation for a building. We can build the building. Once that building's up, what we don't have, Shay does not have his electrician's license, so we can get somebody to wire it up. But outside of that, we've designed the landscape, designed the building, built the building, put the concrete in for the building to go on, and then we can design the landscape around the building and then maintain it, install it, and make sure everything's good to go, all while also getting their irrigation installed and just making sure everything runs smooth, looks good. It's all in-house, and our customers don't have to worry about working with like 10 different companies. Landscaping Unlimited, we've got it all. So when you ask the question, well, can you do? The answer is yes. Now, the timeline might have to wait because we are quite busy. We're booked out like months in advance at this point because the phone keeps ringing. We keep booking these jobs. It's awesome. We're knocking them out. We're cruising. But when you have a podcast in the mix, sometimes getting that mixed into it, when you've got one person on vacation for a host and the other host is just knee deep, I would say actually shoulders deep into the workload that we've got, that's what was put to the side. And we both agreed, let's just let it have a little rest and we'll come right back to it. And so that's what this episode is. This is the return of kicking things back into gear. We will continue forward with 2 episodes, minimum a week heading forward. I say minimum because I don't like that we missed 4 episodes. I like to keep our schedule. So I'm probably going to catch us up, whether it be dropping 4 this week, dropping 1 on the weekend. I'm going to get us caught back up with those 4 episodes. Maybe there's smaller solo sessions addressing specific topics. Maybe they're broader where Shay and I can just jump on together and kind of riff and get, 3 or 4 out in a week. But we do have some guests lined up, so that's pretty cool. We've got a few questions that have been asked. That's also interesting because it gives us something to talk about from somebody else's curiosities. And so overall, we're continuing to do what it is that we do. And so right now, Shay's actually building 2 buildings in the back of a client's property. So we've got a few of our guys out there with him. We just installed, some edging and did some lawn work for another client. The rest of the guys, they're mowing, they're trimming, they're doing what it is we do as landscapers in the growing season, which today is May 20th. And so it's full bore. It's all send, full send. There's no reservation. The guys are working, which has been cool. And so this little recap episode is just going to say, make sure that you take the time that you need to take sometimes to just take that knee, catch your breath, and get going again. Like I said, I wanted to take a vacation when I went on vacation because I don't normally stop. As soon as I leave Landscaping Unlimited and I'm on my way home, I'll get home, I'll have dinner, my wife's there, dinner's made, kids are happy, my son usually has baseball, my daughter's there to tell me about the day, I'll sit with my wife, hang out for a minute, and then I start editing photos. And then I'll edit photos throughout the night, I'll do my thing, and so basically I leave work to go to work with a little bit of a pit stop in between, and that's cool. I'm a motivated dude, I make time for my family. There were 2 things that really stood out to me. One was going to NACA and going to this baseball tournament was a change of pace. So basically I left Landscaping Unlimited for a week, that's unheard of. To miss a day here or there, whatever, but to miss a week, that's not something that's anywhere near normal as far as how my schedule goes. And then to just have that getaway with my family, I've worked every single vacation we've ever had prior to for probably the past 10 years. I worked online. I ran communities, I ran a blog, YouTube channel, all those things. And which means, when you're on vacation, you're just making more content on vacation. So I'd be on phone calls, I'd be on Zooms, I'd be launching products. There's a lot I would be doing while quote unquote on vacation. And so for this vacation, I was like, no, I'm not doing that. I've got to dedicate the time to my family. And that's kind of the second part of what I wanted to talk about, with the first being actually going on vacation and getting away. And the second, recognizing that proximity is not presence. What I mean by that is, just because you're near your family, if you're on your phone, if you're editing, if you're constantly taking calls, well, yeah, you're close, but you're not present. Your mind is somewhere else. And that's something I wanted to address in myself. Like, that's a flaw of mine. And I try to be as open as I can in this podcast because that's what I'm here for. I'm not here to paint a perfect picture that Shay and I have it all together. I'm talking about myself here because it's just me, but Shay has already admitted, like, there are times he makes mistakes. He's got to learn from them. He'll make them in the future. He'll learn from those. Like, we're not perfect, but we're trying to be better. And a part of that for me was allowing myself to go on this vacation and to just focus on being there with my family. Not focusing on photos or things like that, not focusing on calls or what's going on at landscaping, but just being present with my family. And I did that, and it was awesome. Like, the photos I got are ones I wanted to get, not ones that I was booked to get or had a timeline to get knocked out, or I wasn't paid for this. It's like I went and just took pictures that I wanted to take. And so when I edited them, there was no pressure, and that was awesome. And I was able to just put it to the side and just hang out with my family, and whether it was dinner, after dinner, just sitting there, just kicking it, chilling. It was really cool. I enjoyed it. It recharged the batteries. It's something I realized I need to do more of. And it's something now that as I go home, I really need to make more time, not thinking that just because I'm in the room with the kids, but I'm editing photos, that I'm present. Because I'm not. I'm partially present. My proximity is close, but that doesn't mean that I'm open and available, because my mind is also like, well, how can I edit this, or what should that look like? And so these are all things that I'm just going through, things that I'm thinking of. And as you go through things, especially if you're a business owner, especially if you're somebody that's just a motivated, high-performing individual, like, what are you willing to trade? Because that's what the question really is. What are you willing to sacrifice for what it is that you want? I'm not willing to sacrifice the time with my kids. I could balance time with my wife, because her and I, we're adults. We can balance things around it. With the kids, though, like, their youth is only so long. And then it's going to be gone. They're going to be on their own. I mean, I'm already seeing with my son, like I said, he's usually at baseball practice, and then he's driving himself back home. And it's like, he doesn't need me to drive him anymore. He doesn't need me to coach him anymore. None of that. And so, like, I'm already seeing it with him. He's 16, and my daughter's 13, so she's still more local. She doesn't have her license. She's not going out. But it's inevitable. It's going to happen. I know it's going to happen. And so I'm soaking the time in while I can. And that's what I'm not willing to sacrifice. And so could I make more money by putting in more hours in the job? Absolutely. Could I make more money taking more photo gigs? Absolutely. Speaking gigs for sure. Doing things like, yeah, I absolutely could make more money and grow what, from the outside, the external looking in, I could be able to just buy more things. Buy a car, buy a boat, buy whatever I want, because I have more money to spend on things. But, like, that's the tangible stuff that people think is success. To me, true success is freedom. To me, it's being able to be present. It's not worrying about things. It's not having so much stress in your life that you can't enjoy quiet moments or be alone with yourself. These are the things that I think people should work towards. And so as you're listening, if you're looking to apply it in your life, now that we've got this podcast back, we're going to dive more into these topics. But this little return episode is a good one for you to, like, kind of have that little episode of yourself. Go through your own mind. Ask yourself those questions. When's the last time you took a break or gave yourself permission to be present and not distracted? Because at the end of the day, you're not going to look back and be like, man, I'm so glad I worked those hours. You're going to look back on the moments with your family and be like, man, I'm glad we got to do that together. I'm glad I got to see that or be there for that. I'm glad my life didn't feel short because it's a blur, but it feels quite long because I took my time to soak in the moments. Like, I constantly say, like, my kids are growing fast, but at the same time, like, I'm soaking it in. I don't have regrets wishing I had done more or had done things differently outside of, like, the little things I've learned from. Like, I look back, I'm like, man, like, I make time to be there for their sports, to be there in life, to watch what it is they're doing. I'm not letting myself be owned by my job, though at one point I did. And it wasn't this job, it was all my other jobs, but I was owned by them. I let them take control of my life, and at some point I had to stop and say, enough is enough, I'm taking this back. And that was no easy thing, but it was worth it. And I wish everybody could understand, like, how worth it is for you to own your life and to control your life. And so as you go through this, whether you're a landscaper, a hardscaper, blue-collar professional, a white-collar man, or whatever it is, a lady leading a family, a lady leading her business, whatever your situation, whatever your gender, whatever it is you have going on as an individual, you can take what it is I'm saying and apply it in your own way, and you'll be able to understand, like, what it is I'm getting at, which is your life is more than your job. Your life is more than money. And your life is about these experiences that you have along the way. I call it hanging a Polaroid because I picture like a string running. And if you've ever seen the cartoon Hercules, like when they pull the string and as soon as they cut it, you're dead. That's when you die. Now, when they cut his, he's a god, so it turns to metal. The scissors don't work, blah, blah, blah. My point is, I picture somebody pulling a string from a spool, and you do not know when that spool is going to run out. I don't know if when I drive home today, like that was it for me. This is my last podcast episode. I have no clue. What I do know is I'm here right now, and I've learned to hang Polaroids like you would from a clothesline. You know how you clip clothes to dry outside? Well, if you took a Polaroid photo of an experience or a memory, so let's say my daughter's recital recently happened at the Turnage Theater. An incredible presentation. It was awesome watching her up there. I call her my little dance biscuit. It's really cool. But that's a memory. So that's a Polaroid in my mind. It's a memory I have of watching her up there dancing. And so that's clipped onto my lifeline. When I'm on my deathbed or when I'm about to die and I go through my life, I'm not going to have a bunch of empty spaces on that line that are just blurs of work. Because let's face it, like when you're at work, those days blur together. That's just how it is. It's not. I don't have a big memory of him putting edging in yesterday. I don't have any big memories of those moments. Like I did the job for sure, and there are some moments that stand out, like working in the creeks and having a Tyler Rowe pick me in and out of a creek with the excavator. Like I don't think I'll ever forget those moments. They were great memories. Solid shout out to Tyler. We had some awesome times together. But for the most part, most days are just like get through the day, do the job. Polaroids though, when you clip those up with your family, with your friends, with yourself, you'll look back on those without big gaps. And you'll be like, man, I did a good job. I had a good life. I hung a lot of Polaroids. And at the end of the day, like that's what matters. So for me, the vacation, that was hanging a Polaroid. That mindset was me making sure I kept that in focus. And for Shay, just locking in and getting the work done. Like I look forward in the next episode when I can get him on here for him to talk about his tempo because he's been going balls to the wall. It's been intense. And so talking about how you balance that with family. We've got a guest actually coming on where we're going to talk about these things. Like how do you balance the work that has to get done with maintaining a life? Because you don't want to build something incredible at the expense of the family you're trying to build it for. Like what good is it to build an empire or to build this amazing ship just for it to go out and sink because nobody else is on it to help you man it? What good is it to build an empire when everybody inside of it, leaves to go to another kingdom because you were just like so focused on building things, you never took care of those who mattered. And that's the stuff we'll talk about. So like I said, this podcast, while we're as focused on the green industry and talking about the hardscape, the landscape, the tech, the materials, the methods, the mindset, all that stuff, it's also what's behind it, which is the people. And that's always going to be the case. The people are what make this thing work. And so if you haven't checked out the recent episode with John Rennie, I've been sharing some clips in there recently to put that back out because that was he's the most recent guest we've had. And we spoke exactly about this. So it's on topic like 100%. So definitely check that out. But this is the return episode. We're going to be rolling again. Ask yourselves the questions that I just listed out there. Start looking at your life, what it is you could do better. If you have any questions or want us to address another topic that could possibly expand upon this or something unique that you're still trying to figure out, be it how to balance the workload or how to get your family to understand what it is you're trying to build, sharing your vision and the mission that you've set, bring it up. Drop the question. Let us know. We look forward to jumping on it. We're going to be answering more questions that have been asked during our little hiatus. So the 2 weeks are gone. We're going to make up those episodes. We got 4 extra episodes to be added into the 2 a week that we've got. And stay tuned for all that. Make sure you're subscribed. We've got Spotify. We've got Podify. We've got Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music. We're everywhere. We enjoy doing this. You guys stay well, keep crushing, and I hope you enjoyed this episode and the return of the Landscaping Podcast.